was a game against Salty Cabbage, in which I think you'll agree the most nearly impossible thing ever happened. For whatever reason, I was sort of not paying attention and kind of being very lackadaisical about my decision making in the beginning, and I decided not to keep this hand. I'm playing Queen, I'll show you the deck list at the end, and he's playing Sig. So anyway, I decided not to keep this hand, a perfectly reasonable hand. Ship this one away, and this. Ship this one away, and this. Got rid of that hand, and so I was down to one card, and then I said, oh, what the heck, let's get rid of them all. I figured I'd probably lost this game, but then I thought, yeah, you know what, let's just play it out. Maybe I'll top deck something good. Sadly, Karn is not something good when you have no cards in hand. So let's play it out now. He got a Dimer Cut Purse, so now he gets to draw 2 cards a turn, and I get to discard a card every turn on my mulligan to 0. Probably not a good scenario for me to be in. And he's ramping. And this is obviously just like an auto win for him, right? Even more ramping. Ramping with damage. Sure, draw a couple of cards. I just charged because what am I going to do, bluff with an empty hand? Alright, so now it's like a crazy, ridiculous race. There's not much I can do here other than top deck Terminus, like right, boom, now. Well, okay, that's not Terminus, but let's see what happens. So I really hoped I'd get one of the Mirage Tutors here. Also, I was just curious to see what kind of counter magic he's probably running. So he actually responds to my fact with his own, and I present him with this pile. I give him Spectre, land, if I remember correctly. We'll find out. Yeah, Spectre land, and he decided not to take it, so he took basically a Grave Titan, and the other card was worthless against me. I got this pile on the other hand. And I don't know why, but I don't know if he's just like thinking this game's a complete buy, if he's clicking too quickly. I have no idea what happens here. Or if he's just throwing me in a bone, but he sets him up, I think, 5 and 1. It's literally the piles. So I took a 5. So I'm able to get a couple of more lands into play. And I fetched a plains instead of a plateau. Because I'm going to have to discard, and I figured I'd just pitch the plains. Also, I have Chromatic Lantern, it's not going to matter in the long run. Of course, it probably isn't going to matter at all. But actually, when he hit me, I thought, you know, I can play a plains and use it. Chalice has a delay. So I pitched a Chalice instead. So the funny thing is, if you look at it, I have a counterspell. If I'd have just drawn Terminus right there, I'd have been set, right? I mean, I could... Okay, set's an overstatement, but I would have been alright. Instead, I drew DT, so what do you get? What do you get? Probably figured it out. The only card that can possibly save me, this, and he has no bounce. And even then, I'm still taking damage from Stormscape. But that's a heck of a lot better than what was happening. So he searches with a Dimer, and I figured he's going to go get some boomerang effect, but he gets Mind Shrieker. Seems pretty solid. So yeah, I take 1. And I'm at 10, facing 2 flyers, a Havengull Witch. Yeah, not looking good again. But now here's the thing. If I can survive 1 turn, that Enlightened Tutor could win the game. So I try to pump fake my plains like I've got some kind of a removal spell, because I want to make him like I don't know, hesitate with his Mind Shrieker. Unfortunately, pump faking my planes is absolutely nothing. He correctly swings in. Here's where he does make his other misplay, besides the Fact or Fiction misplay. He starts targeting me with Mind Shrieker. Now, he doesn't realize this, but even though I have some big guys like Karn, who I've already drawn, by the way, the average casting cost on my deck is like somewhere between 2 and 2.4. So he hits a land, a 2-drop, a land, a 2-drop, and a 2-drop, which is enough to hit me to 2, and not enough to take me to 0. It might be enough for me to win the game, though. Yeah, he gets to draw an extra card. So, I make the only play possible. I'm sure you figured out what I had to get there. Charge up the relic. And down she goes. And now it's just, can my one counterspell keep me from losing this game? I don't know, but it's already gone on Vess, and he's got 6 cards to go. But it appears he's done for the turn, so there's hope. There's hope. So, for whatever reason, I threw down Queen. And basically, the thought process here was, he may have removal in his hand, and if he spends removal on Queen foolishly, like since she's completely worthless, I'll know what's in his hand. I'll know there'll be one less card for me to have to worry about. And it doesn't matter now, but it might matter later. So I threw the Queen down. The other option, of course, was just not play the Queen and get the mana down, but at this point there's very little I can do even with that kind of mana. Karn's out of the deck, but if I had a Karn, I could play him at 7, so I'm mostly covered on the mana scenario. But the only thing I could top deck that would require that much would be like a Stroke of Genius. Look at this. Skeletal Scrying at 2 life. Now this is a card that I really, really like. It's extremely strong in control matches. It's solid in every other match. But I thought, but I'm still not 100% sure on it in this deck simply for these types of weird scenarios. Of course, the chances that this is going to come up are pretty low. So I'm just piloting through all of his creatures, by the way. Unless it actually is meaningful. So he's already shown me all the way down to 2 cards in his hand. And at the end of his turn, I thought, I'm going to charge this relic, and I'm going to draw a card. And then I'm going to draw Terminus. And I was like, no, there's no way I'm going to draw Terminus. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw this card now. And of course, I removed something painful, and I drew Terminus. Yes! Oh, funny. Definitely not complaining about the luck here. So, unfortunately, I couldn't end the turn with a Terminus to get me into a safe situation. So now I've got to be dangerous for one more turn, because chances are he doesn't have. Chances are, well, he would have killed me if he could have. So basically, it's his top deck right now, and I need to start drawing extra cards immediately, so that every time he has a chance to top deck, I have 2 chances to top deck a counterspell. Alright, so here we go. And there is a counterspell. In fact, that works out very nicely. So, I put the Terminus back. And then end of turn, blow up his Mimic Vat. Not sure if it'll do any good, but could. And this was the unfortunate part of playing Queen. I knew there was a chance I would draw a Terminus, but the thinking ultimately was that it probably wouldn't matter in the long run of either game. I suppose it could have been a misplay. Perhaps something he could have done to kill a creature and deal some damage to me or something. I'm sure cards out there like that. So perhaps playing it was ultimately a misplay, but it was a small gambit, a minor gambit with low stakes. So now I'm actually doing pretty well. Most of the cards in his hand are probably just duds, thanks to the crushing power of Moat and Humility. I was a little worried he was going to get that leech-ridden swamp or something, but looks like he's not playing it, so that's good. So, alright, deck, you're doing what you're supposed to do. We clear out most of his stuff, and now I can play more aggressively since I know mathematically he has one draw and I have one counter, so we're good. And when you're in a situation like this, folks, hold your cards and bluff, because now I get to play my whole next turn super aggressively, unless he's just given up. So I start sylvaning, and I think you can see where this is going, so I'm going to kind of ramp through a bit. But basically I have top future sight against an empty hand, one life or not. And I just discard everything that could possibly deal damage to me. So my opponent says he cannot do anything and asks me to kill him, so it's definitely the right play anyway to go for the win before he can find an out. So I go ahead and go get Tezzeret. If you that turn went quickly, basically what happened was I transmute a Muddle to go get Regrowth, which I used to regrow Demonic, which I Demonic to go get Tez. I Tezzeret to produce additional mana. I use the extra mana to play a Crucible and take away a little bit of his land. Totally irrelevant at this point, probably. And I have 2 counter spells and enough mana to cast them both. Remember, I cannot cast Force with the alternate cost at 1 life. So Tez now has 5 counters. So I pick up a few cards, put down the ones I actually want to play. The 1. Instead of messing around with Fabricate and doing any other tricky stuff, he's got 2 cards. I've got more counters than he has cards. I just want to win, per his request. So I will. Could have done this with Cryptic, but I like this play better. I use the Soul Ring's mana because it's going to be summoning sick after I activate Tezzeret. Dismantling Blow from the grave, activate, and mash. And if you take a look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 6, and he's got 2 cards in hand and he's producing the color mana, so we don't have to worry about running out of blue. Mathematical victory. The only thing he could do is cycle, decree, the black decree, and give them all -2/-2. So 1, 2, 11. It's 65 damage, -22. Still wouldn't be enough. Let's hurry it up. There we go. And that is a mulligan to 0 against somebody beating the heck out of you with Factor Fiction and Vess and drawing 3 cards a turn while you discard every turn. I hope you appreciated the game. It was quite a challenge and a lot of fun. See you next time. Oh, and one last thing. The deck. This is the current version of the deck. It's always in flux. Recent changes are Dismantling Blow, in for Ancient Grudge, and Skeletal Scrying, in for the 3rd disenchant slot that I was using in the past, thinking that I can get away with less disenchants if I can draw more cards to go get them. The only bad thing about this is I have no way to put a disenchant underneath an Isochron, but ultimately I'm fairly certain that that's not very important. I'm pretty sure that what you want under an Isochron is Fire Ice, a counterspell, or something that draws cards, or searches like Mystical Tutor, Lindul's Vault, Brainstorm Impulse, that kind of stuff. Maybe swords. I think it's alright not to have disenchants. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the deck. Hope you enjoyed the list, and I'll see you next time.